goals, New Year's resolutions, anything that goes under that category. And a lot of times we fall short. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about actual goal setting, but also why that happens. And I'm going to, throughout this presentation, I'm going to be talking through ways to prevent that, essentially. So that's the goal. So presentation about goals that stick. So there's a lot of reasons why goals fail. 88% of people say that goals fail despite confidence, like I am gonna do this, and still 88% of the time we don't. The goal still fails, especially when it comes to New Year's resolutions. 1 in 4 individuals, about 23%, abandon New Year's resolutions within the first week, and only 36% make it past the first month. And I'm sure some of you are like, yep, that's me, right? Like, it's the, what is it, the 11th? It's the 11th. I'm like, are we still on track? I don't know. Maybe we waited for this presentation before we even made any goals. 9% of people successfully keep their New Year's resolution. And then those who don't succeed, 35% of them attribute that to setting an unrealistic goal. They bite off more than they can chew, and then they're like, "Well, that's not going to work." And 23% simply forgot they even had it in the first place, right? Life happens, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to do that," and we forget. And 42% of people who write their goals down are more successful. Hence the pen and paper. And I was like, I cannot forget that this time. So that's why we're going to be using that today. The whole point of a goal is to live your life on purpose, to live your life intentionally. So if you're over here on January 11th of 2025 and your potential is over here, the things you could do if you set goals and stuck with them, a lot of times we live our life like this. We just kind of go day in and day out, and we just sort of wander around, and your potential is over here like, Amanda, I'm right here, come find me. And we never get there because we don't have our eye on it in the first place. Or maybe we do get our eye on it, but then we don't have things in place to actually help us stick to it and get to that potential. Big goals, when you set them, can be really, really exciting, but they also can be super intimidating. I say that today because I don't want you to, when we get to the time of actually writing down goals, I don't want you to shy away from something that seems scary. That's okay. We can be talking about goals that you're going to do over the next 10 years. We can talk about goals you're going to do by the end of 2025. You're going to be able to decide that for yourself. But depending on who you are and what situation you're in, you may want to set longer term goals, which is great. And they should feel uncomfortable. They should be like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. You don't have to know that yet. You don't have to know how you're going to do that yet. The other thing that's important before we even start is that what we think happens when we set a goal is that we just make linear progress. We're like, oh, each day it just gets better and better and better and better and better. And then there I am at the end, I've done it. And most of us logically know that that's not true. We logically know that really what happens is like this for a really long time. And then maybe it starts going up, right? We logically know that's true. But when you're in this part or this part, it's been a really long time, and you still aren't there, you still don't see very much progress, you're getting really, really frustrated, then the logic part of our brain shuts off. And if you came to my last presentation, you know what turns on is your jerk brain being like, it's not worth it, you're not making any progress, might as well quit. Why are you bothering? Right? So if you haven't watched that presentation, that goes along really well with this, especially when you're in like the dredges of your goal work, because our brain takes over and tries to protect us and says, just give up. Just keep doing what you've always been doing, because our brain wants us to do that. And so it's really important to know that even if your progress looks like this, it's still progress, but it's going to be ups and downs. It's inevitable, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Lastly, this is why I have a whiteboard. I can't leave the whiteboard behind ever. Here we have this 2025 January 11th person, and here we have the person who met the goal. And we've got this gap in between, okay? This person's like, I am 100% confident I am going to make that goal. The longer term the goal is, this is what happens to that 100% confidence. It goes all the way down. The longer it takes for you to meet your goal, the less and less and less and less and less you believe that you can. That's human nature. And again, your jerk brain's coming in saying, just quit. So it's really important when we talk about we can't prevent this. This will happen. I can 100% guarantee it. But what we will talk about today is what do we do when this happens and how do we still stay on track with our goal? Okay, but just know that belief is going to plummet for sure. We're going to get into low belief behaviors versus high belief behaviors, right? How we behave when we're sure it's going to work is very different from how we behave when we're really doubting it. Okay? And if you have any questions throughout, just stop me. This is not, this is for all of us to figure this out together and talk about it together. I know you've heard of a SMART goal. Oh my God, Lauren, are you really going to talk about SMART goals? I am, because they are actually important, and we do actually want to have a SMART goal. The problem with not having a SMART goal, so SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. All of those things should be true when you make a goal if you really want to stick with it. And the reason why is because if you say, and I know this is really small, I'm sorry, but I'll read through it. If you say, if your goal is, I want to lose weight, right? We all say, I need to lose some weight. I want to lose some weight. There isn't anything specific in there. How much weight? How long do you want to try? Like, how much time are you giving yourself, right? That's not even measurable because you lost a pound. You're like, nailed it. I lost weight. Right? So we have to have very specific, measurable, achievable things like components to our goal to make sure that we actually hit it. It's really important that it's realistic. You may want to lose 100 pounds by December 31st, but you ain't gonna do it. It's not realistic. That's way too much. So think realistically, okay? So I want to lose 10 pounds in 12 weeks. By tracking my meals daily, exercising 4 times a week. You've got very specific things that you can do to start plugging away at that weight loss. Okay? Here's another example. I'll try to eat better and walk more. Again, how much more? Are you talking about a step goal? Are you talking about miles? What does eat better mean for you? What it means for you is different from somebody else, right? So none of that is SMART. But if we say, I'm going to eat 1 to 2 servings of fruits and vegetables per meal and get 10,000 steps at least 5 days a week, that is a very specific, measurable goal. You can track your progress along the way, know where you're having obstacles, and know where to make up for it. Okay? Now you're going to jot some things down. I want you to think about a goal that you have, and I want you to make sure that it is measurable, that it's realistic, that it's relevant to your life. Make sure it's your goal and not a goal that somebody else gave you. It has to mean something to you, okay? It does not have to be burn related. You can have a finance goal. You can have a relationships goal. You can have, I don't know, a step goal. Like, it doesn't have to be exercise related. It doesn't even have to be weight loss related, right? All of us are here for different reasons, but you're all here for a reason. So I don't want you to be like, I don't know what my goal is. Come up with something just for the practice, and then you're going to marinate in it for the next few days, and you probably come up with something different, right? Maybe it's participating in level up games for those of you who are Burn members. Come up with something. I'm going to shut up now and give you a minute. I'm going to go back to what SMART stands for so that you can make sure that they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Relevant, yep. Attainable is the realistic word for SMART. You can have multiple goals, absolutely. You see me struggling. It's okay if you don't know how long it's going to take you to get there. It's a guess. The time bound is an estimation.
Lauren, where's the one that you did 2 weeks ago? Is that on the Manchester page?
Yeah, I can tag you in it. Just if I forget later, just text me and I'll tag you in it. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Put it on your goal sheet. Go back to these goals all of the time. So if you've run out of time, I invite you to continue going back to them, and we will today too. This next part is talking about finding your North Star. In other words, finding your why. There is a reason why you put that goal down on your piece of paper. And it's bigger than weight loss. It's bigger than wanting more steps. It's bigger than eating vegetables. It's bigger than that. So I want you to think about, why is that your goal? What's the point? What are the guiding factors for that goal? What's the bigger reason for it? So let me give you an example. If you're struggling with, I don't know why I'm not that deep. That's what Sarah always says to me. I'm not that deep, Lauren. The reason why we do that is because when we're in our low belief behaviors, when we're trying to hit our goals and make progress, and we're down here in the dredges of the goal, we need something that's going to pull us out that's bigger than losing 15 pounds. Because we can negotiate our way out. I don't actually need to lose it. I'm fine. Right? I'm healthier than the rest of my family, so I'm fine. So it's not really about the 15 pounds. What is it really about? That's your North Star. Is it about trying to avoid type 2 diabetes? This is just weight loss as an example, right? Your goals are whatever. But is it, or for financial, is it about having financial freedom at the end of your life, retiring without any stress? Is it about being able to play with your grandkids? Is it being able to shovel your driveway when we have Snowmageddon 2035? What is it about? What's the bigger reason behind your goal? So that's what your North Star is. You should feel like an emotional attachment to your North Star.
Did you say you should?
You should feel an emotional attachment. Like, if that doesn't happen, you feel something thinking that that's not going to actually happen. It's that big of a deal. And side note, this can change over time as well, right? This is your guiding factor. This is your North Star right now. But maybe in 6 months, it's slightly different. And that's okay. That's expected. All right, so this next part, we most of us probably know this, that we take a big goal and we break it into manageable chunks. Okay? That's pretty common knowledge in terms of goal setting. And the reason why we do that is because if this is where we're trying to get, and we know it's going to take a while, right? We need to have smaller milestones to get to be like, whoo, I'm on my way. And then we go a little bit more. We're like, did it again. And they can be teeny, tiny milestones, or they can be bigger ones. You get to decide what your milestones are. But if we go back to that weight loss idea, if you're trying to lose 50 pounds this year, then maybe your first milestone is 5. I lost 5 pounds. And when you do that, you celebrate the heck out of that. You have to celebrate the wins, okay? And then maybe the next milestone is another 5, maybe the next milestone is 10, whatever it is. If it's like, something financial, like you have to decide, like you've got this really big goal, you have to decide what are the smaller stepping stones that are going to get me there, that's going to show me that I'm making progress, and it's going to help keep me sticking with my goal. I'm avoiding at all costs using the word motivated, because motivation doesn't get us anywhere, because it is so fleeting. You're motivated for like 6 seconds and you're like, this sucks. And then you stop being motivated, right? So I'm using like stick with it as opposed to motivated. I'm never motivated to get out of bed at 5:50 in the morning to come to burn. I'm never like, yeah, let's do it. Literally ever. In my life, I have never been like that. But I do it anyway, okay? I'm not motivated to do it. I just know that I am making progress towards the goals that I have. So it's really important that you don't think here, like, I'm just not motivated. Nobody is. You don't need motivation to get a goal. You need a plan, and you need to be able to stick with it, okay? So these stepping stones are really important, and that's why it's important that your goal was measurable in the first place, because you have to have these stepping stones as measurable, like, points on your way to the big goal. So take a minute and come up with at least 3 stepping stone spots between right now in this moment and your end goal. And if you're struggling, just call me over. I can turn off the mic.
Is this, so let's say I had two goals initially. So once I get that, and I date I established, now I'm adding on to that and building on to it.
Right now, you're saying between right now and when you hit that goal, what are your measurable stepping stones to get there? So if your goal is to, what's your goal? Or if you want to share, otherwise I can come up with an example. Okay.
80 ounces of water a day, and then 4 times here.
Okay, so 80 ounces of water a day. So your goal is to do that every single day. But what's the long-term goal? That's a process goal, right? So what's the long-term goal? What are you trying to achieve with that 80 ounces of water? So it doesn't suck to drink 80 ounces of water. So like drinking 80 ounces of water daily, like with no problem, right? Are you going to start by drinking 80 ounces of water? Or are you going to start by drinking 40? Okay. So maybe your first one is like, I consistently drink 50 ounces of water. And then your next stepping stone is I consistently drink 70 ounces of water. And then your next stepping stone is I consistently drink 80 ounces. You know what I'm saying? So like get to the point where like when you are consistently drinking whatever your minimum is, then you celebrate and then you keep going. Does that make sense? I also want you to take a second and think about how you're going to celebrate it when you get there. Is it possible to have too many goals? It is no, but it is possible to have too many goals at one time. Yeah, I would say it's like the saying, like you can have it all, you just can't have it all at one time, right? So I want you to pick your 2 most important for right now, and then as you're making progress towards those, then you can add on. But if we have too many at once, we don't do any of it because then we get overwhelmed. Great question. But I do want you to think about how you're going to celebrate that when you get there. What are you going to do? And don't be like, I'm just going to pat myself on the back. Like, do something celebratory. Yeah, that doesn't sabotage your goal. Okay, but if your goal is weight loss, I'm assuming that you're talking about that, right? Like, so if your goal is weight loss, remember, and this is a focus meeting conversation, but all foods fit in a weight loss goal, right? So you can celebrate with something that maybe you wouldn't always have, right? Just not the whole thing, right? So like instead of eating the entire cake, you're like, I'm going to go to Deer Workers and buy a single slice of cake, enjoy the hell out of that, and then move on. It's just cake, right? Just don't buy the quarter sheet cake and go to town. Yeah. Okay. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I need an eraser. I'm using a towel. Sorry, BAs. We have created right now an outcome goal. Your outcome goal is like this thing up here that you're trying to hit. That's your outcome goal. And with that outcome goal, you also have your outcome person. The person who has achieved the goal does all of these things on a daily basis to continue on in that path. Okay? This is not like new year, new me, because you're you and you're worthy as you are. But we do grow when we go after goals. We do become different versions of our same self. You don't need to be anybody different to get to the goal. But this is a growth, I'll call it identity. This person who has achieved the goal. So that's your outcome. That's an outcome goal. Your SMART goal is your outcome goal, what you want in the end. We have our stepping stones that are going to get us there. And then we have to come up with something called a process goal. A process goal is the specific actions or behaviors that you do on a daily or weekly basis to actually achieve the goal, right? So if the goal is I want to lose 50 pounds by December 31st, 2025, your stepping stones are the individual amounts of weight that you lost, 5, 10, whatever it is. Your process goals are, what are you gonna do to get there? And sometimes we know what to do. I need to eat more vegetables. I need to get in 100 grams of protein. I need to, go into a calorie deficit, whatever it is. Sometimes we don't know, and that's okay too. But what I want you to think about is the person at the very end. What does this person do every day as the person who has achieved the goal? So I'm at the end. I've had my 50 pounds of weight loss. What does that person do going forward every day? What do they do? What are their behaviors? Somebody tell me. What's something that they do? This person who's lost 50 pounds. What are their actions and behaviors? Yeah, like with what? Like what is, let's be very specific. Like what is an action that they take? Okay, yeah. They hit their water goal every day. They hit their protein every day. They eat 100 grams of protein. What else? They get their steps in. They meal plan. They work out. They sleep well. They eat fruits and vegetables at every meal, right? So if you look at your own goal, think about that outcome person. What is that person doing at the end of that goal? if you can read this, here are some questions you can ask yourself. I'll read them out loud to you, but here are some questions to ask yourself to come up with your process goals. If I already were that person, the outcome person, what daily habits would I have in place? How would that version of me think, act, or make decisions differently than I do now? When their alarm goes off, they actually get out of bed to go work out, for example. That's for me. Are there beliefs I have about myself that don't serve me, that that person doesn't have? I'm not disciplined. I'm not consistent. I can't do this. This goal isn't for me. I'm a quitter. How does that version of me stay consistent even on the tough days? What reminders or advice do they give themselves during the process, especially on the tough days? Why is becoming this growth version of myself important to me? Why is being a person who sticks to goals and keeps the promises they make to themselves important to me? How can I enjoy this process? How can I feel proud of myself during the work? So those prompts can potentially help you come up with what are your process goals? What are the daily actions you need to take to reach your SMART goal? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to jot some ideas down. You don't have to have all the answers, but I don't want you to avoid this work. So if you have questions, ask them, call me over, ask a neighbor. But we're talking about the daily or weekly habits and actions, the behaviors that we need to do or stop doing to hit our SMART goal. If you think about it, here's you now, right? And here's you then. What is the gap in behaviors? You've got these behaviors you're doing right now that's not getting to your goal. These are the behaviors that the growth version of yourself is doing. Your process goals fill in the gap and get you towards that goal. Is this making sense? Okay. No. It's way too, that's too few days. Minimum of 30, but some people even say 30, like it's like 60 days. I don't know. It does or does not? No. 21 days is not nearly long enough. Our brains battle us at every turn in the beginning to get us to stop doing even things that are good for us, but to stop doing the things that are working towards our goals because it's uncomfortable for your brain. Your brain wants you to keep doing what you've always done. And so it's going to battle you at every single turn. So 21 days is not enough time for that to stop happening. Well, that never stops happening, but to create enough of a habit where you can get into it. And this also, you can even talk about like habit stacking, like assigning, like what if one of your process goal is to like, eat 1 to 2 servings of vegetables at every meal. It's like, okay, well, I'm already, I already have my protein. I don't forget my protein, so I'm going to use that and add my vegetables. Or Rhiannon, for you, like you already drink 40 ounces of water. So like, Alexis said, like every time you take a sip, you don't take a sip, you take 10. Yeah, I do. I cannot get my water in if I just take a sip. I have to take 10 sips every single time.
Where I'm struggling right now is I did 75 hard.
Yeah.
I actually did the program, and there are so many things, like I fell off the wagon. The wagon has beat me.
Yep. That's one of the biggest struggles that I have with something like 75 hard, where it's such a extreme that, and we kind of like white knuckle our way through it. We get there and it's a huge celebration because it's legit hard. But then we just like the pendulum swings back the other way and we buy the quarter sheet cake.
I don't know if it was Lauren or Christina told me though. It's like the wagon's not moving on without you. It's waiting for you to jump right back.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I'm not there yet.
But you
That's
don't
okay.
do 75
Yeah.
hard, but I mean, like,
Right.
I would always say like, oh, I'm off the wagon.
Right.
It doesn't go anywhere without you on it.
Right.
And you just get back on.
Yeah. And the other thing is like you can't mess it up if you always just start back in your routine, right? The only way to mess it up is by not doing anything from now until the day you die. And that's not gonna happen. So you can't mess it up. You're always gonna be able to get back on. Yeah, so we all are. That's your brain. Watch that previous one. Watch that previous one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's your brain just trying to keep you safe. That's why it does that. And it's a master at saying exactly what you need to hear to keep you doing always what you've done. That's its job. It's its literal job. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this next part. Setbacks are literally inevitable. You will not make linear progress. I told you that. It's a 100% guarantee. 100% guarantee. And so one of the biggest keys to continuing to make progress is knowing that that is true and then having a plan for it. So we're going to do that in just a minute. It is 100% going to happen that you are going to need to adapt your current goal. It is not a static goal. You're going to have to adapt it. And you're going to have to adapt your process goals. Maybe you try and you're like, that was too much. I need to take a step back, right? So adaptation of goals is part of it. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that the goal is too hard. It doesn't mean that you're not worth hitting the goal. It doesn't mean the goal is impossible. It just means that you have to make an adaptation, okay? It's really important too, when you can, again, easier said than done, but when you can, thinking about the roadblocks that you hit as something to learn from, right? Not a reason to self-sabotage, not a reason to beat yourself up, right? It's going to happen that you're going to hit a roadblock. So if you can ask yourself, okay, what did I learn? So like, Rhiannon, you fell off the wagon, you're not drinking your gallon of water anymore. Asking yourself, like, what happened there that I can work my way around to either prevent it from happening again or to get back on track faster than the last time I got off track, right? We are going to get off track. The key is getting back on track faster than you have before. The faster you can get back on track, the more quickly you'll hit your goal, right? So if you stagnate for a week or two, okay. If the next time you only stagnate for 5 days, sweet, that's progress, right? And the next time you stagnate and you go off the rails one day, but you're back on track the next morning, even better. And then the next time you stagnate and you go off the rails at breakfast and eat, the plate of waffles and you don't care about anything, but then you have, a normal lunch and dinner, even better, right? So the quicker you can get back on track, the better. What is something that often gets us super off track is the time-bound part of a SMART goal, right? You want to lose 50 pounds by December 31st. You get to December 31st and you've lost 25. And you're like, yeah, screw it. Yep, get me the sheet cake. I'm ready. You go off the rails during holidays. You say, this isn't for me. I'm never going to get there, right? But what did I say about this time? Does anybody remember what I said about this? It's a guess. It's an estimation. You have no idea how long it's going to take. So you're going to throw your goals away because you guessed wrong. We do that all the time. We do it all of the time. It's a guess. Okay, you guessed wrong. Guess again and keep going, right? So don't put, all of the components of the SMART goal are important. Don't put all of the weight in the time-bound spot. We don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to depend. Life happens. Sicknesses and illnesses and snowmageddons, and we eat the sheet cake because we're cooped up in the house with our children for 99 hours. Right? So the time bound is an estimation. Don't use that. Don't weaponize that against you to then not keep going on your goal if you don't hit it. Okay? Because the other thing is this person here, they've got their hand out waiting for you to come get to that growth identity. They're waiting for you, excited for you. But we don't know when it's going to happen, and that's okay. But if you still keep your eye on this and still do those behaviors, you're going to get there eventually. It's inevitable. If you keep your eye on that person, as opposed to like starting to wander and do this and you never get there, right? Okay, brains like a plan. Brains like a plan. If then statements are great. But think about your life. Think about obstacles that have come up in the past that have prevented you from continuing progress on your goals. Think about your own self-sabotage. Think about your kids. Maybe they're homesick. Maybe it's the summertime and like schedules go out the window. Think about obstacles between right now and the end point of your goal, your outcome goal. And I want you to think of a couple if-then statements that are going to help you get past that obstacle. And I gave some examples. If we have another 4-day snowmageddon and I can't get to the grocery store, then I'm going to eat one of my emergency burn meals that I have in the freezer and get my nutritious meal in. That's a plan, right? Or if I feel like I'm faltering and getting off track on my goal, or maybe I'm already off track, then I'll schedule a focus meeting so that the trainer can help me get back on track. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to avoid. I'm going to lean into my community instead of step away. But come up with a couple of if-then statements for your goals, your obstacles, potential obstacles. I want you to you can literally grade yourself each day at the end of the day. Did you get a B-? If you did, awesome. Okay, say it one more time. B- effort. If you're a straight A student, you're not getting straight A's here. That's not the point, because what we do is we don't get a straight A, and then we're like, I'm not making progress. I might as well give up. When you really did actually make progress. Okay, so get out of your own head there and don't use that against you. B- effort. You can celebrate the smallest of wins. If your goal is to eat 1 to 2 servings of vegetables a day because right now you eat 0 and you do that for a week, heck yeah, celebrate that. If you do it for a day, celebrate that, right? You do it a meal, you're like, look what I did. Tell somebody. Yeah.
My problem is I don't know how to celebrate sometimes. So, does anybody have ideas on it?
Yeah. Does anybody have any ideas on how they would celebrate something? Okay, wine. A lot of times we use alcohol and food, right? Like I eat a brownie. Yeah, I have a glass of wine. Okay, those aren't bad. Just don't turn that into 9 glasses of wine and 6 brownies, right? Make sure you can have only one of those things. What are some non-alcohol, non-food ways to celebrate?
So my friend, she'll buy herself a new pair of tennis shoes.
Okay.
A new workout outfit.
Yeah, retail therapy? Psh, that is me. I get Starbucks, Jen. Oh wait, I get that every day. That's just kidding. That's not a celebration. That's just my daily habit. Yeah, especially if you have a steps goal, things like that, like rewarding yourself with a new pair of shoes, rewarding yourself with a cute, burn tank. Pamela, did you have something?
Well, and I love ways to tell someone, and I think you're going to talk about accountability first too, but I hope you all have someone in your life that it is not too small to be like, I need a whole cup of peas.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Someone in your life will be like, Jen, that's freaking great.
Yes. Especially if they know you've been working on it, right? Yeah, and it doesn't have to be your spouse, right? If your spouse is like, you're done. They're like, okay, well, find somebody else who doesn't say that so that you can share in the celebration.
I need to find something non
Non-monetary. Okay, so no money, no food.
I think it's about making things that make you happy.
I know.
Like I take like a long shower, like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Doesn't make me happy or that.
Read my book longer. I'm going to get 30 extra minutes to read my book, and I'm going to tell my kid, go watch the iPad, mom's not available, and you shut the door and you do it. Or you get a babysitter.
And there's a difference between things that you can do in 5 minutes and things you can do in 30.
Yeah.
Is it walking with a friend? Is it, you know,
I love that.
putting fruit in your water takes extra time, but it makes you happy to drink it. And
Yeah.
Like, and then what's 30 minutes? What's 60 minutes?
Those are great
What's a
ideas.
day and a
You want to lead this?
half? No, because I'm not.
Okay. I'm not there yet either, girl. Yeah.
Maybe it's not about being there.
No, it's definitely not about being there. It's about the process of getting there and the habits that we establish to get us there, right? And even if we fall short, right? So like, here's our outcome and we fall short, but look at the progress we've already made, right? We're not there yet, but we're a lot further than if we hadn't set the goal. And we're a lot further if we hadn't set a scary goal, right? So it's not really about, even if you hit a goal, then you have another one. So like, what's there? The there changes. We just keep pushing it back to keep growing more. And some of us are better at that than others. Like, I know I keep mentioning this, the workshop I did last time, but like some of us have major brain battles and some of us have more practice being out of our comfort zones, don't feel as uncomfortable, and that doesn't mean that the person who battles can't get there, but we all have different lived experiences. You know that. We have different lived experiences, different perspectives. We have different people in our life telling us you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't. And some of us have people who are saying, sure you can, sure you can, sure you can. So that's why we all tackle this at different angles and perspectives, and it takes us different amounts of time, right?
And that's where I feel like celebration does. What's your own mental model?
Right.
If you don't feel like in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm going to lose 100 pounds,
right,
5 pounds, it's not, like, I shouldn't celebrate it. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, that's my own, that's where we have to get over that.
Yeah. Right.
Why would you tell someone else?
Yeah. Get yourself out of it, right? Would you say me 5 pounds is nothing? No, you'd be like, that's awesome, right? People were doing that with double unders yesterday. They're like, I'm not going to take a picture for 2. I go, some people don't have any. Hell yeah, you're taking a picture for 2. Get in there. It's no.
When I was losing my 80 pounds, I literally called my friends and my boyfriend every week, and I was like, I lost 2 pounds.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's the support system. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's so true. Other ideas for habit tracking. If you don't like this idea of a habit tracker, think about like an end of the day reflection. What went well? What got in your way? What can you do tomorrow to prevent that from happening again? Right? Just any kind of like acknowledgement of your progress day to day. You also could write out your goals and take a picture and save it to the lock screen on your phone. Every time you pick up your phone, you're like, oh, yep, working on that, right? Okay. This is a perfect segue because we're talking about having support, the support system. Some of us have it. Snow has really great friends and family who celebrate her 2 pounds at a time, right? Some of us don't have something nearly as robust, but it is true that 65% of people, or you have a 65% higher chance of success if you publicly state your goal. That's scary. That is so scary because like, what if you don't hit it? Yeah, but remember, we're not. Time bound is just an estimate, right? Time bound is just an estimate. But having an accountability partner makes you 95% more likely to succeed. 95%. That's huge. So guess what? For the first time ever, Burn Manchester is launching accountability partners. Gym accountability partners, okay? You can get your own If you already know somebody at Burn and you're and you want to be their accountability partner, great. If you don't, you're like, I don't really know anybody, I need to be partnered up. Sarah Cheney and I are going to do that. She designed this beautiful graphic right here last night. I'm like, staring at a blank canvas screen. I'm like, do you have the capacity and willingness to design me a graphic? And she said, sure. So you can scan that QR code. You're going to fill out a Google form. You're going to give your name. You're going to give your email so we can contact you. And there's a couple of questions like, how often do you want to check in with your accountability partner, right? Do you care if they're male or female? There's a couple of other questions there. And then based on your answers, we're going to match you up with somebody that fits most of that criteria. The number one thing that we're going to base it on is how often you want to check in. I don't want to put somebody who wants a daily check-in with somebody who only wants it once a week, right? So this is going to be up in the gym over the next couple of days. Wednesday is the deadline to sign up for that. But if you are really serious about these goals, then it's important to get that accountability. If you have somebody in mind already, great, but make sure they will actually hold you accountable. If they're a really good friend and they're like, that's all right, that's not necessarily someone that's going to hold you accountable. Find somebody who can be like, yeah, that's all right, but like that was the obstacle. What got in your way? How are you going to make it better? Sure.
What exactly is, I mean, I know what accountability is.
Yeah, so this is what I envision. Yeah, this is what I envision.
What is mine?
So this actually came from what people were already doing in the gym. Someone's like, I need an accountability partner. Who wants to do it? And all those people are like, me. And I was like, we need to do something like that for the whole gym. So the idea is that you get somebody, her name's Sally, okay? And you're like, Sally, these are my goals, okay? And you're like, every day I want to blah, 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 and I want a daily at the end of the day check-in. Did you do it? How did today go? How did today go? And you're like, well, I hit my water goal, but I didn't get to the gym today because of the snow. And they can be like, okay, so next time when you don't get to the gym, could you go on a walk instead? And you're checking in with them however often you guys decide to be like, how did today go, essentially? It's like check-ins, right? Mm-hmm. And then ideally they go to your same camp time if you have a regular camp time. That's not guaranteed. It'll depend. But they don't have to. A lot of people, they don't go to any of the same camp times, but they check in often. And then you also text them, you're like, guess what? I ate my vegetables for every meal today. They're gonna be like, they're gonna be your Snow's version of excitement, right? So that's what it's for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Other questions? I'm very excited about this. I hope people sign up. We're gonna have like 2 people, Sarah. I'm just kidding. Hopefully we won't. Okay. So that's coming, and you'll have your partner hopefully by this next weekend. We're going to end this with something that we do annually here at Manchester, which is a letter to yourself. So I'm going to talk about that briefly. I'm going to conclude, and then Dana over there has stuff. You are welcome to stay to write your letter, or you can bring it home and write it and then come back in. But a letter to yourself is it's a way to offer your future self encouragement, getting them back on track if they've gotten off track. So you write a letter to yourself and then we mail it to you in June. And if you get it in June and maybe you're totally off track, you're like, okay, this is my reminder to step back in, right? Or maybe you've made progress. And so like there's lots of different ways to approach it. But I want you to think about it basically serves as a checkpoint for you to celebrate what you've done between now and June, and then encouragement to continue on to the end of the year. Okay. I think that it's important to know what kind of tone you want in your own letter. I like a little combination of encouragement, compassion, and a swift kick in the rear to get back into things, right? If you don't respond well to swift kicks in the rear, don't do that in your letter. Make sure you honor what you think you'll need in June to actually help you get back on, right? I strongly discourage any kind of shame or embarrassment or humiliation. Like, don't do that to yourself, right? And don't make it about other people. What are people going to think if you don't blah, blah, blah? Don't make it about that. So it should be encouragement. Look at what you've done. Even if you haven't gotten as far as you wanted, you know, you still have time, that sort of thing. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're going to do that in just a second. I just want to conclude. No matter what your relationship with goals has been in the past, no matter if you've never hit a goal you've set for yourself in your entire life, that has no bearing on whether or not you're going to hit the goal you have on your sheet of paper right now. No bearing. And it's really important that you actually believe that. Okay? So if you hear me say that and you're like, yeah, that's just not talking to me. Yes, I am. I'm talking to every single person in this room. It doesn't matter. You now have process goals, you have milestones, you have contingency plans, and you're going to have an accountability partner. Lean in to what you've learned. Lean into that accountability partner. Schedule your focus meetings. We can help you stay on track as well. And lean into your contingency plan so that you know that you're gonna go off the rails. I guarantee it. You just have to get back on the wagon that's waiting for you. Okay? Remember too that the purpose of the goal is to do all this growth on the way. And if you set a big goal here and you fall short here, that is a huge amount of progress than if you just stayed here. And that is worth celebrating as well. So don't make it just about the outcome. Don't make it just about the outcome. And don't make it just about the time. Okay? Get a burn buddy. That's what we're calling those accountability partners, a burn buddy. Get a burn buddy. Write out your plan. Put it somewhere that you can see. Think about a habit tracker or some kind of way to keep track of the daily work that you're going to do so that you can crush your goals. Okay? Dana, you've got cards over there, right? So you're going to pick a card. At least take one blank on the way out. If you can't stay, that's fine. You're welcome to stay, like I said, to at least start your letter. I have prompts for you. So before you go, if you want to take a picture of that so you have ideas of things to tell yourself for your letter, you're welcome to do that. But come get your card so that you can do your letter. Thanks for coming, guys. I really hope it was helpful.
Thanks for doing this.
You're so welcome.